I really wish this were a better movie. Let's talk about it. What's up everyone, welcome back to another one of my movie reviews. Today we are talking about the highly anticipated Disney movie Wish. And by highly anticipated, I mean highly anticipated to flop. And you know what? They were right. And before we get into the details of this review, this is your official spoiler warning. And I'll just take the time to say, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my future reviews. And with that said, let's get into it. First off the bat, let me talk a little bit about the animation. So I will have to say, I have always respected Disney for animation. Disney is what made me fall in love with animation. They defined the animation standards in the industry for so long, and then of course everything kind of changed when Sony dropped their masterpiece Into the Spider-Verse, and then every studio from then on is now trying a different style of animation and more stylized, and now Disney is trying to catch up. It wasn't as bad as it looked in the trailers, but I will say it doesn't look super great. A lot of times it did look washed out, and then at other times you couldn't even tell that it was watercolor anymore. I did like their 2D effects with sparks and magic going on. I thought that was a nice touch, but overall I think the animation could have been way more experimental. If they wanted to go watercolor, I think they could have taken up just another notch. But I also think Disney was trying to play it safe so that they stay in brand and that people know that it's a Disney animation film. But I'm like, come on, go big or go home, and they are really going home at this point. I also think it would have been smart if they included that little Disney Plus short where they celebrated the 100 years of animation into the beginning of this movie as just a bonus short or something. Let's talk about the plot a little bit. It was way too simple. And I know most Disney films are pretty simple and straightforward, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some little complexities and things that happen in the plot. If I were to summarize this movie, I could literally do it in a few sentences. Basically, a king can grant people's wishes, but he doesn't really want to. So Asha discovers this and tries to steal the wishes back and give it back to the people. The king doesn't like that, so he fights Asha. And then Asha makes everyone sing. The end. Like, that was it. That was the whole movie. You know what another Disney movie about wishes that was actually well done? Oh yeah, Aladdin. That was a fantastic movie about making wishes and how you need to take the power into your own hands to make your dreams come true. Yeah, we already did that. In this movie, however, there was no sense of adventure. I think the furthest they ventured out was into the woods that was right next to the castle. Asha had basically no character development, and just like the animation at times, everything was flat. The characters were flat, sometimes the music was flat, the moral of the story was flat. Also, there was zero emotional impact on anything. I was not attached to the characters, I wasn't attached to their stories, I wasn't attached to the outcomes. Like, I'm not saying that every Disney movie needs to pull on the heartstrings and make you cry, but let's just take a few for example. So Moana, when the grandma died and then she came back and reprised a song with Moana, that was super emotional. Entangled, when Flynn Rider almost died, that was emotional. In this movie, it had nothing. I thought they were going to kill off the grandfather just to have an emotional impact, but they didn't, which good for the grandpa, but like, come on, I had nothing to care about. And it just felt like nothing really happened in the plot. I'm trying to understand how this movie was around the same runtime as something like Moana and something like Tangled, where so much adventure happened and so much character development happened in just a 90-minute runtime. All right, let's talk about the music next. Listen, everyone on the cast was really good at singing. However, I don't necessarily think that means that the songs were very memorable or catchy at all. I think the best one was surprisingly the villain song where he's like, "This is the thanks I get," and everyone on TikTok was trolling that song. If that was the best song, that's really saying something. And there was one song in there that was literally like, "I'm a star, you're a star." Me and my friend watching the movie, we audibly laughed. And some of the music felt like they were trying to replicate Lin-Manuel Miranda's style of music, but he wasn't even a part of this movie. I'm like, y'all could have just hired him, honestly. It probably would have been better. Because Encanto also wasn't a great movie, but they had some really memorable music. And I think that's a really big part that this movie is missing. Oh yeah, at times when they were singing, it was just so weird because they were literally just pointing out things that were happening. Like, I feel like in the past, Disney songs were able to explore the characters emotional conflicts, develop the plot further through song. But no, in this movie, I won't say all, but some of the songs that I remember were just literally pointing out things we already saw happen. I'm like, is this song just to recap what we saw 5 minutes ago? Okay, now let's talk about Asha. Asha is someone who I think suffers from what I call QPD, as in quirky personality disorder. Essentially, where the character is like, hi, am I supposed to be here? Oh, I'm so clumsy. Like, it's just getting tired at this point. The blueprint was definitely Tangled, where Rapunzel very much had that personality, but it worked for her, and then it kind of just trickled down into every other Disney princess we've had since the 3D era, and it's just getting old. It's getting old, and I'm not gonna hash too much on it because there are other videos on YouTube getting more in depth about this quirky personality type for Disney princesses, but I do have to mention it because it was so evident in this movie, and I think it even happened with some of the side characters too, where it was just like, it gave me the ick, and I'm like, can you just talk normally? Like, can you just have a normal personality? Sorry guys, let me pull back. I'm being so mean to this movie right now. Also, what was crazy to me about Asha was that we got to see everyone's wishes, right? We didn't see Asha's wish. I mean, unless you count her wish and then the star came, but I'm like, why didn't we get to see her wish actually visualized? Because then we get no sense of motivation. We don't really know who she is as a character, what she wants to do, besides return the wishes to other people. And she had a little bit of a backstory with her dad, but then it was just never mentioned again. I have a theory that the star is like a reincarnation of her dad or something, but I feel like maybe that's too deep for this movie. And then they made a big deal about the grandfather's wish, how he wanted to inspire other people, but then he didn't even get to do that at the end. We didn't get to see any kind of resolution to that. It was just a whole mess. I love Asha's character design, but that's pretty much it. Okay, let's talk about Magnifico. I think he was my favorite character purely because he had so much expression and he was so over the top. But I think the problem with this movie is that it felt like Disney wanted to go back to the original villain formula so bad that they forgot to give the villain any sort of depth whatsoever. They just checked the box, yes, we got someone evil, but it just wasn't enough. If we think about iconic villains like Ursula or Jafar or Scar, or even Mother Gothel, they all had motivations that we could tell. Ursula wanted to get revenge on Trident. Scar wanted to overthrow his brother and take over the Pride Lands. Mother Gothel wanted to stay young, and that's why she kept Rapunzel close to her at all times. But for Magnifico, what was his motivation? He just wanted to keep the wishes for himself because he wanted to control the kingdom. But nevertheless, he was probably the most entertaining part of this movie, and I was really rooting for him because I didn't care about any of the other characters, and I was like, yes, you better use that dark magic, you better cause some chaos. And then at the end, when he was all powerful, he got defeated by singing. Yeah, this whole super powerful wizard gets defeated because a group of people decided to sing about their wishes. The fact that defeating Ursula required driving a whole boat through her. Defeating Scar required Simba to fight him to the death. Defeating Jafar required tricking him with the genie lamp. It's just crazy how we've downgraded our villains these days. Let's talk about some other people that I care even less about. The friends that were supposed to be the representation of the 7 dwarves. They were so annoying. I wouldn't have minded if they were just a small part of the movie and maybe contributed to a song here and there, but no, they were actually a pretty big part of the movie, including like this whole betrayal thing. And I was just like, these 7 people who have no personality taking up screen time. I think the movie would have been much better if it was just Asha and the star and maybe Valentino. And then the queen kind of got involved in the squad at the end of the movie, and she was just so unbothered by her husband's betrayal. For someone who is supposed to be in love, she really just did not care. Let's talk about Star. Basically a ripoff of Luma. Even had the exact same sound effects from Luma. We didn't get any explanation of how Star came to be. It was just like, oh, Asha made a wish, and so it appeared before her. And that's what we're supposed to believe. Okay, let's talk about Valentino.
Lipstick and my Valentino white.
Listen, I love Alan Tudyk, right? But this character was just too much. Too much. You could tell that they made Valentino just so they could sell merch of cute goats. It felt like they wanted to be Mushu, this talkative sidekick animal. And it just felt like at times they were like, get it, this baby goat has
a deep voice, isn't it funny?
It really was not. Listen, in Moana, Alan Tudyk literally voiced Hey, that chicken, and the chicken was hilarious and it did not talk. Like, we don't need some gimmick for this sidekick animal to be funny. It just needs to be well done. Okay, let me give my overall rating now. I know I completely just on this movie this entire time, and for those of you that enjoyed it, I'm really happy for you, and I'm sorry that I was so harsh about this movie, but it's true. It's true. This was by far the worst Disney princess movie they've ever made. And so my overall rating is a 4 out of 10. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but certainly for Disney, for their 100th year celebration, huge letdown, huge disappointment for someone who is a big Disney fan. But let me know what you guys thought. Was I being way too mean in this video? I'm sorry if that's what it came across as. I am just a passionate fan of Disney, okay? Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed this movie or you hated it as much as I did. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my future reviews. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone.